One, two, one, two, three.
Good afternoon. It's Billy D here with Dr. Joe Mercola, one of our first podcasts of the year for the upcoming Cal Jam 2019. I have to say that Joe Mercola has been probably one of the biggest leaders in the alternative healthcare movement for many years. He's been a huge mentor of mine all the way back from days when I first read your book. It was the grain
No
book.
grain diet.
No grain diet, right. See, my brain isn't working today because of the lack of sleep I had.
Your lack of sleep will screw you up on steroids. It's almost more important than diet.
No, I think to me it's way more important. I just don't have the energy and clarity and capacity to articulate when I don't get enough sleep. So one of the things I make sure I do when I speak a lot of, because you and I travel a lot speaking, I just make sure that I wear earplugs, eye mask when I'm in these hotels.
Absolutely. It's crazy
sleep.
now, too.
Okay.
Crazy now.
All right, so
You're looking good today.
Really? I didn't even shave for you.
No, it doesn't matter. I think I'm commenting on your physiology. Your body fat's probably close to 10% or under. It's looking good. You're looking healthy.
Well, dude, I do all the stuff that you teach, and again, a lot of things that you went over Cal Jam last year were, pivotal. Jesus, see what I
There's
say?
no B
I
in
can't
there.
even talk.
That's what happens when you don't sleep.
I'm really looking forward to the sleeping bag coming out, though. You said you're sourcing that out in China.
Yeah, the raw material. We're obviously making it here. No, actually, it might be made over there too. But and we have really good quality assurance because I know that's the first thing. I mean, this is not something you eat, by the way. It's a textile, so we have simple, really accurate and sophisticated equipment to measure the effectiveness of it. And they're not, swapping something out on us and giving us materials that don't work. So it's exciting. I've been using the prototype now for about a year, and it works. I mean, it radically works. It's just shocking.
So you measure the amount of EMF with, was it acoustic? What was the name of the?
Well, that's my go-to meter. It's called Acousticom 2. Acousticom 2. It's a $150 meter.
Right.
But then I use a $3,000 meter also. That's by GeoVital. It's from Austria, and it measures electrical fields from the radio frequencies on your body or in your body. And then I use both of those, and it's really, really low. So with the bag, this is great.
So for most people, the Acousticom 2, which you can purchase from an obscure website called
Amazon.
Yeah, and they can get those. So for me, probably one of my biggest challenges has always been sleep because I've got the inner self-talk that doesn't shut up.
I've got the solution for you.
Okay, what is it?
Pulsed, and that's the key, EMF, PEMF.
Okay.
There's two devices. I'm a huge fan of PEMF. I didn't talk about it at Cal Jam, but the best book, and you want to read this book just to get a primer on it, is by William Pollack, Pawluk.
Okay.
It's Power Tools for Health, I believe is the title. But he's a MD clinician for about 30 years in PEMF. He is the best clinician on PEMF that I know of. He makes some devices called Flex Pulse, which I'm currently using, but it's too expensive. It's like $1,200.
Yeah.
And this has one electrode. It goes right here, Billy, right underneath your occiput, right by C1, C2. And you put it there at 3 hertz at delta. And you've heard of brainwave entrainment, like the lights and the sound, right? Well, that's an indirect entraining your brain. This is direct. The magnetic frequencies just cause this electrical field so that your particular activating system specifically will resonate at 3 cycles per second. And as you know from reading Matthew Walker's book, that's deep sleep phase.
Right.
So these anxieties that you get, all these pressures that's going on for whatever reason in your life, and you're waking up and it just disappears. I mean, you're just, you're in sleep and you stay asleep. It is the most amazing thing.
So how much does the tool cost and where do...
His tool is $1,200, and I'm trying to get Bob Dennis, which is my favorite PEMF device, the one I use all the time, and I use it for actually treatment of any traumatic brain injury that I may have had and don't remember, but primarily for neurodegenerative prevention, like Alzheimer's and some of those other things, Parkinson's. So I use it on side to side on my head for an hour, and then back to back, front to back for another hour. And that device is about $600. Bob Dennis, and his device is Micropulse LLC, I think. But if you just type in pulsed or PEMF and micropulse and Bob Dennis. You should come. And the one that I use is the M1, and it's about $600. It's a blue little thing. Billy, literally you can have 6 of them together, and they still be smaller than the size of a pack of cigarettes.
Right.
It's that tiny. It's less than 2 ounces. It's crazy. The battery, it's a camera battery, and it's just so magnificent. And it's better than devices that I've paid $20,000-$30,000 for, which are most of the cost of those high-priced devices are for marketing. It's not for the research.
Right,
Bob Dennis happens to be one of the most brilliant, probably the most brilliant PMF engineer on the planet that I know of. He holds the NASA patents, and his focus is to provide cost-effective solutions, bring it to the masses, and I just love his work. So.
There's another instrument I used to use. I think it was a biotuner. Are you familiar with that one at all? And
haven't heard of that one.
No.
For PEMF?
Yeah. I don't think.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. There's a lot of details to go into it, but Pollock's book is excellent. It really goes into the whole science pretty well.
And over the weekend, I was at Autism One. I was surprised you were.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I should have been there. It's just by the time it was in my radar, I just didn't aggressively connect with the organizers of the event. But I'm sorry I missed. Seneff was there and Zach Bush
and so was your buddy Klinghardt. I met him.
Klinghardt was at Autism One?
Yes.
Shit, I would have been there. Damn.
I met him at the gala dinner.
Yeah, I got to go next year. There's no question. Yeah, I lectured at Dietrich's event earlier this year in New Jersey, and that was just great. I mean, every time I go, I just have these radical, earth-shattering revelations. So, this year was no exception. Learned a lot of stuff, so it's great.
All right, so you're also big on the whole cell phone. I mean, I don't own a cell phone, which some people think is crazy, but I figured I've done pretty well without one through my life.
I'm surprised, and this is the primary purpose of my cell phone. Really, that I would say over 50% of the function of it is to hail ride-sharing services like Lyft.
Exactly. That's the only reason I get excited because that's the only reason I've almost got one is for.
Yeah, that's the primary reason I use it for. I mean, and then I occasionally will use it to open my gate to get in from the outside when I'm riding my bike back from the beach. But other than that, the primary reason is to hail a Lyft.
Right.
And Lyft is better than Uber, in case you didn't know, because Lyft does a far more aggressive screening of their drivers than Uber. And but what I've learned, this is a tip for everyone out there, because almost everyone watching this uses one of those, is to call the driver as soon as you get your ride and have a short few sentences with them to make sure they speak English.
Right.
I have gotten 3 or 4 rides in the last 2 months. They didn't speak a word of English, and it's a nightmare. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure, because if you're going to the airport, how are you going to? You have to dialogue with the person.
Right.
If you don't understand English.
Well, that even happens more because I still use Yellow Cab a lot because I don't have a cell phone. So you have a tendency to have non-English speaking people. And then,
well, you can screen it on your phone.
Right. So last year at CalJam, you made everybody put their cell phones on airplane mode. I thought that was interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
I do that at every presentation now.
You're going to decrease the radiation with that as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, not so much from the people in the back of the room, but certainly people close, and certainly for the people that are seeking to get the knowledge and information, that form of radiation exposure will clearly impair their brain function. So I want their brains on fire when they're listening to what I've got to share, because it took a long time to compile that, and it's usually very useful information.
And you also classified cell phones as the new smoking, and it should be
well, cell phones are the cigarettes.
Cigarettes.
The cigarettes of the 21st century. It's a very apt analogy. There's no doubt. And I'm writing a book on it.
Correct? Isn't that what you said?
I'm sorry?
A class 1 carcinogen? Didn't you say that?
Well, it
should be a class 1.
It's currently a 2B from the World Health Organization, but it should be a 1A. That's from the evidence that I reviewed, and it will be at some point. It just takes a few decades to get over the lobbying and misinformation campaigns by the telecommunications industry. So we're in the process, but we won't be there for a while.
You'll also see a huge epidemic of probably brain cancer in the next.
We're seeing it now.
Right, I know. I've had 3 friends that I've lost, and they were the first guys that had the early adopters with the cell phones. They were the cool guys that had the remember the cell phones that were like the size of
Oh
a
yeah, I remember.
shoebox?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I didn't have one of those. I never got mine until like the 90s or sometime.
Now,
But you know what? I actually at Paleo FX where I was speaking earlier this year. Someone in the audience came up and it was someone in telecommunication industry and it was like on our side. He said that probably a rational alternative would be to use paging technology because that's a receive only. It's not a signal out. So that we do have this need to be available in emergencies, and that would solve a big portion of that need is to have a pager, or at least integrate the paging technology into the phone so that you're not having any radiation exposure.
I thought it was all the drug dealers that carried the pagers back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, but it doesn't mean it's not a useful tool.
Right.
How you use it, right?
I just kind of sometimes when I leave the office, I don't want people to be able to find me all the time. I don't know.
Well, that's fine too. I mean, that's what no phone will do. But right. Get one at least for the ride sharing services.
Do I have to have a phone number though, or?
I think so, but you don't have to give it to anyone.
That's true.
Okay. Yeah, and if your phone, it's a mood issue. My phone is off like 99% of the time, and I literally maybe get a phone call every few days, but it doesn't matter. It always goes to voicemail because it's never on. So right. It doesn't. It's a mood issue.
Right. So what else you got going? I know you had the book Fat for Fuel that you just came out.
Yeah.
I know you're talking about having three other books coming out.
Oh, yeah. I've got 3 super fuels coming out in the fall, which is just a derivative of Fat for Fuel that goes into more depth and details about the fats and the quality of fats and omega-3s and omega-6s. Nothing earth-shattering there, but I'm working on 3 other books. Not 1, not 2, but 3.
Jesus.
I started with the EMF book, and that got put on hold. That won't be out for a year and a half or 2 years. The one that's coming out before that and after Superfuel is on Keto Fast, which is on ketosis and fasting. I'm working with Alan Goldhammer, who's a DC in Northern California, who's the executive or the medical director at the True North Clinic, which has fasted more than 16,000 people for the last 2 decades, I think. So it'll be an interesting collaboration with him. But in the process of doing that, I realized that fasting is a pretty effective form of detox. So I went on this tangent and this deep dive, and I started getting deeper and deeper. And this section that I was going to write in the book turned into a chapter, and then a chapter after 100 pages, I realized this is a book. So I'm writing a book on detox, which is very, very exciting. And that won't be out for maybe 3 years. So yeah, those are all the books. But I got to tell you, I'm really excited because
you're always excited, Dr. Joe. You always are.
About 3 hours ago, I got back from my 3-month follow-up because thanks to Peter Martoni, who I believe is at CalGEM regularly, and good friend of Patrick Gentempo's too, and was the one who literally two years ago kicked me in the head when I was at one of Dan Pompa's events and said, "Joe, you're something wrong with your neck and stuff." So he says, "Okay." So I flew to Boston to see him. He took X-rays and he said, "Yeah, you got degeneration in C5 and C6." And then I said, let's do something conservative. So I used his sleeping technique, which I'm sure you're familiar with. So I tried that for 6 months, and the degeneration got worse. So I said, okay, we got to act on this. And I was not having symptoms. There was absolutely no symptoms.
Right.
But by X-ray, there was clear degeneration. So I went in and had new X-rays done from a local chiropractic physician, and really liked him. Trained at Palmer, the real Palmer. And he does Godstead and CPP, chiropractic biophysics. Good. So I'm wearing the helmet and wearing the straps every day and going to see him 2-3 times a week. And my cervical curve was 27 degrees when I went in for treatment initially. And
that's actually good compared to most people.
Well, it's 34 now.
Yeah. What's your forward head translation? That's usually a big issue too. Do you remember?
I don't know that he went specifically reviewed that, but what Peter was most concerned about was the shrinkage of the C5 and C6 disc.
Right.
And I gained like, I think almost 0.75 to millimeter in each disc, which is pretty impressive for 3 months. So I'm definitely going in the right direction.
Right,
and I'm very, very excited.
In addition to the chiropractic, what are you doing other than just adjustments?
I do a whole variety of things.
Right.
Great question. I eat right, of course. So I'm not eating processed foods and sugars.
Right.
So that
You're
lowers
the godfather of that stuff, right?
I'm sorry?
You're kind of the godfather of nutrition in my mind.
Yeah, so I'm doing that. That's useful, but I was doing that before, and I still was degenerating. I'm using a regular, probably the best near infrared sauna on the planet. It's made by Sauna Space. It's crazy expensive. It's like $8,000, but it's truly EMF free by every conventional measure. They are just outstanding.
Is your
so I
head
do that
in
every
it
day.
or out of the infrared device?
I'm sorry?
Is your head in the device or out of the device?
Oh, no, that's a good question. I would prefer that it's out, but this one's in. So there's 4 heat lamp bulbs essentially, but enclosed in a tent that is essentially shields you from all EMFs, electrical fields, radio frequency fields, and there's no magnetic fields in it. So it's pretty cool. But then I do photobiomodulation with the Joovv, Joovv, which I believe were at your event last year.
Right.
And thanks to Dietrich Klingard, he helped me understand that the 850, the near infrared, was better than the combo panel. So I do that pretty much every day. And my biggest excitement, and the one that I'm really intrigued about now, is NAD, which is I've known about for some time now, and I'm sure you've been exposed to it.
A little bit. I think Ben Greenfield and I talked about it when we did a.
Yeah, it's really great stuff. Now, Ben is of the belief that he takes intravenous NAD, which is a very pricey strategy, and obviously inconvenient, and typically in many of these NAD centers. There's a number of them in Southern California.
So why don't you explain to our audience what NAD is?
Yeah, NAD is an acronym for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, or adenine dinucleotide. And it essentially is probably one of the most important biomolecules in your body. Okay. It's the central regulator for almost all the enzymatic cofactors in your body. The most important one being NAD plus converts to NADH, and NADH is the carrier of electrons within the electron transport chain of the mitochondria. And if that thing is not working, your ATP does not be produced. But here's the most important thing as I was researching this. This is absolutely critical. It's so critical that I have literally been spending 6 hours a day for the last 6 weeks writing a paper. And it's not even close to being finished. Wow. I mean, I've reviewed hundreds of studies, and I just finished a 400-page book today, a thesis that wasn't as good as I thought it would be on NAD. But anyway, what I learned, let me tell you the highlights of what I learned, because it truly is, it's earth-shattering. And the reason I put so much time, effort, and energy into this paper, because I think it's going to be a landmark epic paper that will essentially revolutionize our understanding of chronic disease. Because NAD is at the core of all chronic disease, and most of us don't get this. And I'll tell you why. And I got onto this tangent through EMF, because it's pretty well understood now, for at least those who've studied EMF carefully, that the mechanism is it increases oxidative stress when you're exposed to these dangerous frequencies. And the way it does that is through the voltage-gated calcium channels, which liberate extra calcium into the cell. What does that do? It does one primary thing that's really of significance. It increases nitric oxides to very high levels, beyond normal levels. And what does that do? Well, nitric oxide is a free radical, but by itself it's a relatively innocuous one. It's more of a biological signaling molecule than it is one that damages you. But when you have nitric oxide and you combine it with another free radical, superoxide, which is the first oxidative radical in the electron transport. When you have because when you make ATP, there's this normal leakage for the electron transport. It's typically only a few percent, but that leaks out these electrons and it combines with oxygen. You got superoxide. So when you combine superoxide and nitric oxide, you have peroxynitrate. Now, I don't know if you've heard of that molecule before, but that is the bugger. That is the bugger that kills almost all of us prematurely. And you want to know how it does it?
Through cancer?
Well, that's one of the symptoms, but heart disease, neurodegenerative disease, autoimmune diseases, it does it by causing single-stranded breaks in the DNA. Now, I'm getting to NAD. I just had to give you a primer first to get there.
Right.
So it causes the break. So you've got oxidative damage, your DNA is screwed, and this is like well understood. That is the way you die prematurely, by excessive DNA damage, right? That you cannot repair it. Right. Well, God gave us a great system. It's called PARP. That's a family of enzymes. There's about 17. I think there's 17 of them. PARP1 is the most common.
PARP?
And PARP, P-A-R-P. P-A-R-P is adenine ribose polymerase, I believe is what it's called, short for it. And what does PARP do? PARP goes in and repairs the DNA damage very, very effectively. So you can get damage. You can get your X-rays. You can go and fly at 40,000 feet and get the ionizing radiation, smacks your DNA. PARP will repair it. Unless, and here is the big unless. This is the aha, oh my God, now I see the world clearly event. Unless PARP is the largest consumer of NAD in your body. And when it consumes all the NAD and there's none left, it stops working and you cannot repair the damage.
Okay. So I think thinking back from when I did the podcast with Ben, he was talking about microdosing nicotine. Is this kind of along?
Totally different. They sound similar, but absolutely different.
This is completely different then. Okay.
Completely different mechanisms.
All right.
There are ways to increase it, and that's one of the strategies I'm working on now. Probably the world expert in NAD is David Sinclair out of Harvard, and a good friend of mine, Naomi Whittle, is good friends with him, and she's connecting us pretty soon. So I'll have a chance to discuss it with him in great extent. But I want to make sure I've got my ducks in a row before I talk to a genius like that guy in this area.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why I've been just consuming all this literature for the last 2 months. But anyway, so if you can supply your body with NAD, then your body can repair the damage. That's the key, and then you can. And it's not only disease damage, but it's challenges like sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is literally it's a result of oxidative damage in your body that's not properly repaired. I'm convinced of that now. I wasn't before. So if you can go in there, and how do you address the oxidative damage? You do not do antioxidants. Yes, you can stimulate the NRF2 pathways and keep one that releases NRF2 to do its magic and stimulate the DNA through the antioxidant response elements, the AREs, to cause the production of antioxidants, which is the far safer one than swallowing them. But that's not the solution. The solution is to let your body systems work by supplying enough NAD, because NAD will also improve sirtuins, and it increases NRF2 too. So you don't even have to worry about the antioxidants if you have enough NAD.
So where do you get NAD?
Is that cool? Is that cool or is that cool?
Is it just a supplement or what?
No. Okay. Now Ben does take NAD. He takes it personally. He has IV bags that he injects himself periodically. And I don't think that's the best solution. I still have to talk to the world-class molecular biologist on this, because Charles Brenner is the guy that invented one of the NAD precursors called nicotinamide riboside, or NR for short. And he was just on Dave Asprey's podcast and stated really clearly he didn't think NAD IV works at all, because it breaks down to this is broken down before it's able to penetrate the cell or the mitochondria and work. So, I mean, clearly people get better. It's noted to be pretty effective for withdrawal of addiction withdrawal, especially benzos. But it may work in a different mechanism. There may be far easier and effective ways. And the simplest, the cheapest, absolute cheapest way to increase NAD is what was designed to treat Pellagra. If you remember Pellagra, or remember hearing about it?
I remember it. Wasn't it a niacin deficiency?
That's exactly what it is. But you know what we know now?
What?
Pellagra, excuse me, is not a niacin deficiency. You know what it is? It's an NAD deficiency. Okay. It's exactly what it is. It turns out that niacin by itself is probably the single most effective way to increase your NAD levels. Now this is important. So it's just regular niacin. This is not timed release niacin. That will not work. This is not niacinamide, which will increase NAD also, but not nearly as effectively, and will actually impair sirtuin activation. So
explain what sirtuin activation is.
Well, sirtuins are they're actually like PARPs. They're the same type of ribosylating enzymes that have very beneficial actions in your body that promote longevity. A certain one would be the biggest one. That was the target of resveratrol. But these sirtuins, they do not work unless they have NAD, which is the question. Still, you can take all the sirtuins in the world, unless you got NAD, they can't run. They can't run. So that's why the niacin is so crucial, and probably combining not only niacin and what's the dose? The dose probably a few hundred milligrams a few times a day, but you got to start really small, like 25, 50 milligrams, or you'll get a flush that will make you want to
vasodilatory effects of it.
it's very uncomfortable for a large percentage of people. So you start small and you build up a dose. I can take 500 milligrams without even getting a flush now. So I take that about 3 times a day, and I take it with nicotinamide riboside that I'm actually using transrectally, although I'm not sure if that's necessary, but using that. And then there's other things that you can use to impair the breakdown of NAD that inhibit this pathway called CD38, which is an enzyme that destroys NAD. And it also really prominent in inflammation. So if you inhibit that pathway, the CD38, with things like, there's flavonoids like apigenin and quercetin that are pretty potent inhibitors of that. So I'm using a bunch of those too, and just really excited. I've noticed a profound difference in my health as a result of doing this, and I'm beyond excited about this, as you can tell. So it's
and then what things have you noticed in your health that are different?
Just more energy, the ability to lift more weights, sleeping's better, just everything seems to be going in the right direction. So I'm very excited about it. And my heart rate variability is improved. So now I was able.
Which HRV do you recommend?
Well, I'm using a very expensive one. It's about $5,000 or $6,000 from Heart Quest.
But from a clinical standpoint, what do you? I would love to get an HRV for the practice just to measure it, because I think that
is the one. That is the one you want to get. There's
what is it?
It's Heart Quest. I can hook you up with the guy, Michael Kessler, who's a DC, by the way.
I know the name.
Guy, Michael Kessler. Yeah.
Heart Quest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the one I use. I check it on mine almost every day. When I started, it goes from 0 to 100. When I started, I wasn't in as good shape as I thought I was. I was like, normal for my age is about 28. I was like in the single digits or teens, and now I'm typically.
What is the number that you're? What is that a measure of?
It's a comprehensive compilation of about a dozen different variables that it integrates by the measurements. So that's the overall score, and the higher the better. Normal for someone my age is 28.
So you're talking the higher you get into parasympathetic.
Well, parasympathetic it definitely measures sympathetic and parasympathetic. So it would be really powerful. And it takes about 4 or 5 minutes to check, but there's no consumables. The only thing you need is a little spray bottle of water on the electrodes, which are not renewable. They're just electrodes you put on your wrist, so they're just like a little metal plate. So there's nothing that you have. There's no consumables you have to purchase. Right. So once you have the device, it's software you can put in all your patients. It's just magnificent. But it takes 4 or 5 minutes, and it really gives you a good pattern. It's probably the most sensitive biological tool I know to assess someone's health and the autonomic nervous system. So anyway, I reduced my biological age down to about 20 years now. So
you're 20 years old now, or it decreased 20?
No, 20. Decreased by 20.
Okay.
Yeah, decreased by 20. So
you're not 30
40.
Then. You're 30 then.
45. I'm 64 now.
I'm just kidding. I give you a hard time. How old are you now? 64?
64. Yeah.
Your brain is just friggin'. Where do you put all that stuff in your brain, bro? It's like,
well, I'm telling you,
listening to you already.
I just got back from the beach, and this Australian researcher, Natty Grady, I think is his name is. He sent me his thesis that he wrote in 2011. It was 430 pages, and I did an hour beach walk, and I read 80% of it in an hour.
Yeah, you walk on the beach with a Kindle, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You don't have a lot of you don't look at the waves or the seagulls or
No, after I do my walk, then I go in the water and I swim around, play with the seagulls.
There.
I'm
jealous.
We had pelicans there too.
Oh, we've got pelicans here too. They're
one
of my favorite animals, I think.
Yeah.
The dolphins.
I just love them, like going over the waves. They ride the surf there too.
Right along.
They must be cruising on the air coming off of that surf.
Of course they are.
They're like inches over it. It's just amazing. Right. Yeah.
And you can see them. They kick out sometimes, and they come back and they drop back in again. And there's usually like 5 or 6 of them right in a row.
Yeah, they have a good time playing out there.
Yeah, I'm going to go surfing right after we're done here. So.
Yeah.
So I wanted to touch a little bit on CBD. You said you utilize.
I use CBD pretty much every day. Okay. CBD is legal, of course. It's non-psychoactive. The primary reason I use it is to activate NRF2 pathway. That's not short for anything that I know of, but it's just NRF2. And that's what I mentioned earlier that activates. It's a hormetic antioxidant producer of your body, so it will only – it's like a loaded gun, okay? NRF2. And if you activate it, it stays loaded until you need it. So that if you have this oxidative stress – if you don't have oxidative stress, like you're normal, healthy, and everything's going good, then you don't. Then it doesn't. It's loaded, but it doesn't shoot. Now, when you have oxidative stress, like an X-ray, EMF exposures, or you're flying at 40,000 feet, then boom. There's this other protein on top of it called KEAP1, which lets the trigger go, and boom, then NRF2 is activated and it stimulates the production of antioxidants through the antioxidant response elements. And so it's basically a deacetylase that goes into the histones into DNA and just causes them to be activated. And there you go. You got your antioxidants. So molecular hydrogen is the other one that does it. So do cruciferous vegetables. Particularly sulforaphane, they're radically powerful NRF2 upregulators. So when you lead a healthy lifestyle, you're avoiding processed food. You need a wide variety of good, clean vegetables. These things are going to self-regulate, and you're going to be healthy. And you don't get chronic disease. Like isn't that one of the big principles, the 33 principles that you guys have, is that give the body what it needs. It's going to go towards health. It doesn't go towards disease.
Right. It's not rocket science, in my opinion. It's just live congruent to your gene expression. Live like a caveman is what I tell people all the time. And,
yeah.
So let's get back to the exercise.
But we can't do that because this is 21st century. So we have these technological influences that prevent us from living like a caveman, which is why you need these other strategies like NAD upregulation.
The biohacks, as we call them, right?
What?
The biohacks.
The biohacks,
biohacks really get us back to where we should be.
Well, here's a good one.
Is that a wedding ring?
It looks like a wedding ring, doesn't it?
Did you guys get married? You and Aaron?
Nope. This is Aura Ring Gen 2.
What is it?
The Aura Ring Generation 2.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's looks like it doesn't. It's like an obnoxious, gaudy ring anymore. It's just like normal. So it's a great way to biohack because it can tell you can go into your sleep and see what your deep sleep is, your REM. Like I got 6 hours of REM sleep last night.
So it's
6 hours of REM, Billy.
Dude, I'm jealous. I think I got 4 hours.
You should be.
Yeah, I am, especially today. I have my cat that thinks he's a rooster at 6:30 this morning.
Oh, jeez, that's
I don't
the worst.
go to bed at 8 o'clock like you. I'm kind of.
Oh, I went to bed at 8:30. Sorry.
Oh, you got late night for you, huh?
I know it was.
Anything else you want to say about CBD? I think CBD also has benefits for helping, again, push people more into parasympathetic dominance versus being in sympathetic dominance.
Supposed to. I haven't seen that, but the other things it's promoted for is seizures. I mean, it actually has medical prescriptions for that, drug-resistant seizures disorders, and the other one is for cancer.
Right, of course. And what about neuroprotective and neuroregeneration for you? Like we're going to touch on Alzheimer's a little bit because that's going to be the next epidemic.
Yeah, but that's what I think. This NAD is the core of it. It really is. Okay. And then eating in a way that your body's burning fat as its primary fuel, so you're not. And the reason that you do that, and I don't know if I explained it clearly the last time I was there, but when you're not burning fat as your primary fuel, you get about 30% more superoxide generation out of mitochondria. The leakage of those electrons goes up significantly. And why is that an issue? Because you've got more superoxide than nitric oxide combines, and it's like you got 3 times more or 4 times more superoxide, and you get then the EMFs come in, you get 100 times more. You got like 3,000 times more peroxynitrite, which damages your DNA and just sucks up like a sponge all your NAD. So most of us running around are NAD deficient because we live in the 21st century. That's a technological artifact that virtually no one, and I'm saying no one in bold cap letters understands,
right,
including the scientists. I mean, there's just a handful of biological research to get this. That's it.
And it's simply just taking niacin 3 times a day, trying to get up to 500 milligrams a day.
And have a lot. It will have some of these CD38 inhibitors, these flavones that like quercetin and apigenin, and so a lot of healthy vegetables and cruciferous vegetables and upregulate NRF2. So these are the things that you need. And I'm a particularly fond. I might change my mind until because I haven't researched the precursors really effectively, other than to conclude that niacin is the central core of it. Because even you take niacin with nicotinamide riboside, you will like double or triple the impact by taking it with the niacin, because the niacin is almost free. Nicotinamide riboside is like 50 cents to $1 a pill, and if you need 4 a day, it gets pricey after a while. So,
right. Now I bumped into you at The Truth About Cancer, and we talked a little bit about silicon and its capacity to pull aluminum and other metals out of the brain, or is it just specifically aluminum?
Well, it's not silicon. It's silicic acid. It's orthosilicic acid specifically.
Okay. All right.
So that's a aluminum detox. Then I was at Klinghart's, as I mentioned to you prior to starting the call, in New Jersey, and met this company that has a spectrophotometer that measures your heavy metals and things, and aluminum is one of them. And I forget the name of the company. But it's an interesting equation, and their contention is that this aluminum is probably primarily related to the deposition of the skin, and they've got this looks like deodorant that you put on your feet and your legs and your belly, and it helps get rid of these. So I'm in the middle of testing that out. I don't know if it's true or not, but because I was surprised, my aluminum, because I've been doing this BioSil, is the orthosilicic acid. I've been doing it for
the BioSil from Jarrow.
I don't know the company that makes it, but I've been using it for a long time, like 2 years, and I still have significant elevations as per the spectrophotometer, which really surprised me. So I don't know. I mean, I'm still looking into it.
Right.
But it's great to go to Klinghart's events because you learn a lot of new stuff.
Yeah. And you touched on exercise. I know in the past it was more cardio, and then I saw you at Parker, and you were talking more about doing burst training, and then at CalJam last year, you were talking more about strength training.
Well, I don't do much now. The only cardio I do is the nitric oxide dump, which I think I've taught at CalJam once, but if you haven't seen it, you can easily go to the web and type it nitric oxide dump, Zach Bush. He does one version, I do another, but he's the guy who invented it, so I watch his. And
Zach will be back at CalJam again this year, too.
Oh, he will be back? Good. That's good to know.
Ben.
Yeah. Okay, great. Excellent.
And you actually played in the band last year too. You got up and jumped up on the keyboards.
Did.
Was that
keyboards? I didn't think you'd object. I was just faking it.
You were faking it.
I was faking it, but it looked like I was playing.
You call it air keyboards.
You played a Rolling Stones song. I forget what it was. It was really good though, and I just loved that song, so I had to go up. I just said I didn't think you'd object, so I went up there.
No, we love that kind of. Especially when
it was spontaneous.
Rocks. Did you have your Bono glasses on? No, you forgot your glasses last year, or lost them.
No, I didn't lose them. It wasn't necessary because I think the lighting in there is incandescent, so it was fine.
Okay.
At least I think I don't remember. I mean, I thought I measured it,
I think
or
you
I
said
was just
you left
careless.
them in the car.
Yeah, I could have forgotten them in the car. I mean, the security last year was just insane.
Well, that was because.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I had my presentation at 9. I think the place was half full because everyone else was still in line waiting to get in.
We started a little late too, so we started at 9:30 because, that cost me an extra $14K just to.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
you didn't have much of a choice though.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
I mean, you can imagine someone getting killed there. It's just like you can't put a price on that.
Right.
Most likely it was an idle threat, but you don't know. You have no way to know.
And the thing is, I mean, we can't live in fear, like you said earlier. We just got to keep doing. I think one of the things that obviously caused that to happen was the fact that we had a pretty strong anti-vax message last year, especially with Suzanne speaking, and she was the primary focus of the threats. So. Hopefully that won't be an issue this year.
Yeah, I got a chance to go out and see her on her farm.
You did?
When I was in, because she's living in Austin, Texas with.
Isn't she living in New Zealand? Uh-oh, we're losing you.
No, she has a little trailer. The woman who created Vax, I forget her name, and her husband.
Polly?
Her husband's a really interesting guy.
Polly,
Polly and her husband, and I forgot her husband's name too. But I visited her where they have an autism camp. They have a adult son who has autism. They're creating this environment that they can go and live like the rest of their lives out there. It was a really cool place. It was like 10, 15 acres. And it's so sad, Billy. It really is beyond a profound tragedy that you've got almost half the kids growing up with autism disorder. I mean, that's where we're going to, half. And then on the downside, I just read a comment yesterday in the lead article on our site. I forget, it was talking about something brain injury, and some woman was expressing. I mean, she didn't have enough financial resources to put her husband into an assisted care facility. She was a full-time care provider, and the guy would kill himself. and he was like 70 or 75, and he had full blown Alzheimer's, and it was just, I mean, you read her post and you just want to cry,
Right.
And that is, we're going towards half the adult population having Alzheimer's. So, I mean, we have a very serious issue that has never been experienced in the history of our culture before, where half of the kids are just dysfunctional, half of the adults are dysfunctional, and if that truly is manifests itself, I think the culture will collapse. It cannot support itself. There's no way it can continue. Yeah, it just can't.
And I mean, we both know, I mean, at least I know, and I know you know, and obviously Aaron talks about it a lot too, that it's the white elephant in your living room, sitting on your couch, smoking the cigar, which it's like, whether you're pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine, you would just want to step back and maybe check the facts on that and do some research. And why couldn't we just do a study with, all the HIPAA records we've got, the vaxxed versus the unvaxxed, and look at statistics and come up scientifically and discern whether or not the vaccines are contributing. I know it's not the only factor. There's other toxins in the environment. There's other stressors that contribute to it. In fact, there was a great article that just came out that shows that birth trauma is a big cause for increasing Alzheimer's up to 36 times, or not, autism 36 times. So from that paper, we could construe that obviously all these kids need to be checked after birth by a chiropractor to assess upper cervical alignment to obviously alleviate the expression of that. So I don't think
but even with ideal birth or chiropractic adjustment, you're still looking at all these EMF exposures, the vaccines exposures.
Right.
The diet is just horrendous.
Right.
I mean, it's like they're going into this. They're lined up to be decimated. They're born beautiful and healthy, and they just get demolished. Right. I mean, it's so tragic. Tragic.
It was interesting because, I mean, obviously I'm still in practice full time. And last week I had a 27-year-old autistic come in, and his dad was just fried. I mean, he's got to take care of it. He's been taking care of his kid for 27 friggin' years, man. And you feel the frustration. And I mean, I only have to deal with these people for, 10, 15 minutes. And I see these moms with these kids that are just out of friggin' control. I don't know how people live with that. You see why we have such dysfunctional families, and we have, obviously marital relationship problems because of the fact that this increased stress in a family unit is only going to create problems. But I was thinking to myself, who's going to take care of all these kids when their parents are gone? It's going to be you and I.
Which is why that ranch was developed that I went to, so that they can have an environment that they can live in. But you can't build enough ranches for the number of people that are going to require them. It's just not going to work. And who's going to finance it? It's like someone's got to be caretakers.
Dollars is going to be probably.
Yeah, it's just a nightmare that we're facing. It's just, and it's just so tragic because the parents essentially lose their lives. I mean,
their whole life is focused on getting their kids back.
They can't do anything productive.
And I've been in practice 33 years. I've been doing this, and I've been seeing the same story over and over and over again. They tell me they had a perfectly normal child, whether it was 18 months or 24 months. It's usually at 18 months. They get vaccinated, and then they lose their kids like that. I mean, I don't know how many times you have to hear that story before you start to actually listen to these mothers. And again, I have more faith in listening to a mom than I do the fabricated research that says that there's no relation between vaccines and autism.
Yeah, we just did an article that can be published next week that documents that this is the trend, that actually more people, the trend is in the other direction, that more people are believing that vaccines are not the best things to slice bread. Right. So we're starting to move in the right direction, despite all the misinformation from the public health authorities and the media.
And the fake science, too, because a lot of the science is fabricated. And I mean, how much of it do you think is being contributed by all the geoengineering we got going on? And what, in your opinion, could we do to circumvent exposure from metals from that? I mean,
I know Dietrich believes that's a big thing. I asked him what the biggest thing after EMF was, and he thought it was geoengineering, which was kind of surprising to me. I don't go there because it just is. I just don't want to believe it, I guess. Like I didn't want to believe EMFs. We don't go there at all because
it's too much conspiracy.
I mean, I'm already targeted as a quack cake out of left field. So just adding fuel to the fire doesn't help things. And when we have so many rational, real things that we can make a big difference on, that there's no controversy on really, except for misinformation by the public health authorities.
Yeah, but what's the controversy when you could see it going on, Bob? I mean, you and I grew up at a time when
I went to Costa Rica in February. Not zero. It was the cleanest blue skies I've ever seen. So it's crazy.
And I mean, they'll say that there's less airplanes down there. That'll be their
there probably was less airplanes too.
Of course. But I mean, you and I grew up in an age. I mean, I grew up actually wanting to become a meteorologist. I knew every cloud. You know, I was enthralled with weather and tornadoes and all that. And then, you know, just recently, and probably in the 90s, I started seeing this phenomena occurring. And I don't want to get into the whole geoengineering thing because I don't think you want to go down that road either. But again, it's blatantly in your face every day. And for me, that's my biggest frustration because I'm an outdoor person. I don't want to go inside of a gym and have to work out. I like to be at the beach, breathing air. And we still have to breathe, Joe. I mean, there's no way around it.
No, I know. I get that. And fortunately, your body, if you're healthy, that's why I told you my third book's going to be on detox to help to optimize your body's abilities to excrete these toxins, not only bind them and metabolize them, but to excrete them effectively. So that's my strategy. And I'm thinking that the goal is to make it the best detox program in the world. And one of the ways we're going to do that is probably do individual metabolomics to find out polymorphisms in the detox pathways, and then compensate for them with specific targeted nutrition.
Okay, and what do you feel? Do you think Pampa's TCD is probably the most effective one that's out there right now? I mean, I know you were a big fan of that.
No. I think Brian Walsh, I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's an ND. I like his work better.
Stuff too.
I'm sorry?
Is it Shade?
Chris Shade, yeah.
Chris, I met him over the weekend too. He's freaking brilliant too.
Chris is a phenomenal guy. In July, I'm going up with him and the guy who's going to do the targeted individualized evaluation. So yeah, Chris is definitely a collaborator in my detox book. But Brian Walsh is an ND. He has a program that I think is the absolute best, and he doesn't really use a lot of supplements except for binders. He biohacked. Or not biohacked, but he hacked Walter with a V, Walter Longo's fasting mimicking diet approach. And instead of he sells it for 150. Well, Longo, Brian just tells you how to replicate that with foods. Imagine that.
Wow.
Foods like cruciferous vegetables and sprouts, all these vegetables that have the supplements in them that radically improve your detox pathways. So I've never seen a more comprehensive intervention than what he's had. And that's my current. I think his is the best program out there that I've seen. You know, and it's not really supplement intensive. I mean, it's got a few binders, and so they're relatively inexpensive.
So in a nutshell, give us the program if you could, just in a nutshell.
Yes, I just interviewed him earlier this week.
So clean eating. Vegetables. I mean, I do all that stuff. Vitamix every day.
Well, but it's in his program. It goes on a fasting mimicking diet, which is a low calorie diet. So you're activating autophagy because what you want to do is stimulate lipolysis. So you have to go really, really low calories, like 400 or 500 calories for 5 days or so. And then when you activate lipolysis, then you liberate the fat soluble toxins. The problem is that once they're liberated, they have to be metabolized, and many people can't do that. So the vegetables help activate the pathways so that you can metabolize them through your liver and other tissues, and then ultimately excrete them through things like infrared sauna, near infrared being preferable. And just simply sweating would work too, but near infrared is probably the most efficient way to activate the sweating response. But I mean, you could be out in 100 degrees and be running and generate more sweat than you would in the sauna.
Right. Like in Phoenix?
Like in Phoenix, yeah. So, well, you wouldn't sweat much in Phoenix because it evaporates so quickly. You would be sweating, but you wouldn't know it.
You'd be sweating. I've been to Phoenix before, and I love running out there.
Okay.
Can we talk about lights real quick? Because I've gotten big into that lately too, and obviously you don't want fluorescence in your office, and you want fluorescence.
Which is the absolute worst office. And I've explained this to my chiropractor that I'm seeing locally. I've told him 3 times, and he refuses to turn off the lights and get incandescence.
See, I'm blessed. I have all windows in my practice.
Hard.
I don't even
told
run
him to
lights.
shut off the lights. So I got to do shut the damn lights off.
Right, and burn candles.
Well, candles would be ideal, but you could just do a simple light bulb, incandescent bulb. That'll work too.
Okay,
Which is
so do you think that's the
thermal
best way to
analog
go in
light.
your house is just run incandescents? What about halogens too?
Halogens would work. Yeah, they're an
That's what I have
incandescent.
in my house.
It's an analog incandescent. And I still have LEDs. I'd say 90% of the lights in my house, because I have a big house and I've got like 200 light bulbs easily, maybe more. And I would say 90% of them are LEDs. That's because I never use those 90% or hardly ever, and they're on in case of an emergency, or I have contractors or cleaners that come in and then they leave these lights on. So if they're going to leave a light on, I'd rather have a lead of an LED light that consumes 95% electricity than an incandescent.
Right.
But the ones I use all the time are the incandescents.
Okay.
My bedroom, my bathroom, my kitchen.
Now, you also still own the Tesla?
Yeah, I do. I love
Do you
the Tesla.
ever get concerned about the
I have a
EMF from that
fast
thing,
one.
though?
I have the fast Tesla. It's like 0 to 60 in 2.5.
Yeah, it's like those things are out of control.
It's insane. I love it.
You should just get wings. You could probably take off. You know you could.
I suspect you could, yeah. But with wings, you probably could.
But do you get
Wouldn't
concerned
stay.
about the EMF in that thing?
I've measured it. It's not that high. The highest EMF in not only Tesla but most electric cars is actually from the 4G they put in there. So
Let's talk about 5G
in the Tesla,
too. Jesus, there's so many things to
well,
talk about.
No, 4G. There's no 5G in the cars yet.
No, I'm just talking about 5G that they're going to implement.
Yeah. So, but it's 4G in the Tesla. The older ones were 3G. But fortunately, it does have a mode that you can put it in, just like your airplane. You can go into airplane mode.
Yeah.
So and you have to, it forces you, because you can put it in there but it doesn't stay in there. So every time you go into the car again, you have to put it in airplane mode, which I do. And I've actually measured the magnetic fields are pretty low. It was about 90% lower than my what do they call them now? I forgot the gas engine car. There's another term for them. It just escapes me at the time. But
internal combustion engine.
And yeah, there's an acronym for it. I forget what it is. Internal combustion engine. So that one is 90% lower than the one I had before. And unless you're over the motors, like in the back seat of the Tesla, it's actually in the trunk where the lid would be off, at least in the sedan, not the 3. There's a second motor back there, or that's where the primary motor is, and it's about 100 milligauss. But you're sitting in the front, so it's like it's 10 feet, 12 feet away from there, so it's pretty low.
Can't you just have some type of shielding in the car too that would block that too, or
you can shield electric and radio frequency fields. You can't shield magnetic fields very well.
Okay.
It's really hard to do that. You can, but it's really hard.
Last question before we go. How about the new 5G that's coming out? I know Klinghart's a big
yeah, well, the key thing is to clean up your house. You got to sleep in the EMF-free environment, and it's really relatively easy to do. Is shielding our frequencies is not that hard. It's pretty straightforward. It might cost you a little money, but it's totally 100% doable. The problem becomes electric fields, and that's the most controversial. And I've actually been the building biologists are the experts in that field, and I've threatened them literally. I said I'm going to expose you guys unless you get your act together on dirty electricity, because they've been disputing Dave Stetzer's work on dirty electricity, and it really pisses the hell out of me. So they're going to change their position, because I threatened the hell out of them, and I said I'm going to expose you, and you'll never live down the bad PR in this. So they're coming around on it.
You turn off all your electricity in your house at night, anyways, right?
I don't. I used to until I understood that's not the issue. The issue is these high voltage transients that typically come from about 2 to 100 kilohertz that are imposed by these switching mode power supplies, and they get induced into your own home and your neighbors. They get put right onto the line, and they capacitively couple to your biology and transfer the energy in there, and it causes the activation of the voltage-gated calcium channels. So if you filter that out with the Stetzer filters, you can pretty much eliminate them. And he's got a nice little meter that shows. So it costs you probably under $1,000 to do it. But I think that may be the most problematic, because just like the PEMF device I recommended earlier,
right.
PEMF typically is less than 100 hertz. It's a biological frequency. So when you go over 100 hertz, certainly over 1,000, like most of these high voltage transients are between 2,000 and 100,000 hertz. That's when you have the problem. So if you're exposed to a clean electrical field, the speculation is that is not an issue. It's only when you superimpose these high voltage transients on it, which are removable. Thankfully, with these capacitive filters that you just plug in, and you have to know where to plug them in with the meter. So and get it down to a lower level. But I think that's the strategy, and hopefully I'm getting a building biologist to come around on this because they're really confused, and I don't know all the politics involved with it, but I was really, really annoyed when I went deep on it. And I actually met Dave himself at Klinghart's last event. That was one of the highlights of it, getting to have Dave and have him teach me how to do it, and bought a $5,000 meter to find out the oscilloscope to figure these things out. So.
Yeah. What about a Geiger counter? Do you have a Geiger counter yet?
I do have a Geiger counter.
Yeah,
I've had one for a long time. Yeah, but it's not. I mean, I've used it once or twice, and I took it up in the air, and I think it was like 15, 20 times higher up in the air with gamma rays than it is down at the sea level. But I measured some foods for Fukushima radiation and didn't find any.
Right. And I've been measuring the water here. It's a little bit higher than baseline. I mean, it's like 3 times higher.
Oh, that's significant.
I don't know if that's it could be from the nuclear San Onofre as well, so who knows? There's radiation leaking all over the place. Anything you want to say in closing? Because I'm going to go surfing.
Yeah, that would be good.
I am.
I already did my ocean riding today.
I know you did. You're a little more morning person than me. I'm a night owl. I'm kind of like Aaron. Yeah. Aaron's even worse than me.
I know.
She's
Tell me about it. We're
now,
a perfect match. It's like I'm getting up when she's going to sleep.
That's funny. All right, well, I thank you so much for your time today, brother. And thank you for your leadership and role and just, being out front with this whole alternative movement to just...
NAD is the word, man.
I'm getting my niacin, 500. I'll have to ramp it up, though, titrate up, right?
Yeah, start at 50. Yeah, I put Patrick Gentempo on. He wanted to kill me earlier this week. He normally said 20 or 30 minute flush, but he had it like for over an hour, and he was like felt like fire ants were coming. Yeah. He took it with the nicotinamide riboside, and I think there might be an exacerbation of the flush when you take it with another precursor. I didn't know of it until he experienced it. So, but he's going to start lower. He started at 300. He's going to start at 50.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a reaction. I've got to call Patrick. I haven't talked to him in a while.
Good man, Patrick.
Yeah, he's great. I love Patrick. And he gets to play in the band. He loves playing at Cal Jam every year.
He does. Yeah. I might play next time too. A pseudo play.
We can get you. Chestnut played an electric guitar. It wasn't plugged in. He was just playing air guitar. So just work on your moves.
Oh, that would be good. Oh, there we go. Good. Yeah, I can maybe do that. Yeah, well, I'll do it with him with Aaron up there with electric guitar.
There you go. Anything in closing, my friend?
No. Just stay healthy.
Yeah, and I want to get a tent, so let me know when those are. I want to be the first guy to get one.
Oh yeah. I'm hoping it's this year, but certainly by Cal Jam next year.
Yeah, I'm going to get the PMF.
I would be really annoyed if we don't. We're in our 4th prototype now, so it's just kind of
what figuring it out. What do you think those things are going to run?
Oh, the goal is under 500, maybe even 300.
Perfect. Yeah. And you can travel with it too, right?
Oh gosh, it compresses to something this big.
Right. You also said something. One other thing. When you stay at hotels, you stay at the lower level because there's less exposure.
The lowest level, yes. Thankfully, and sometimes I'm able to actually get the first floor. The first floor is the best because you've got all the buildings, so that a building is a very effective block. I mean, as soon as I step outside my house, my exposure radio frequencies goes up by at least 10 times, sometimes 100. So the walls block a lot of it, and windows are totally transparent. So if you're in front of a window, it comes right through. But a wall, the bricks, the wood, the drywall, they all block it.
Well, you've even got the paint now that helps block it too, right?
Yeah. I paid a few $1,000s for the paint for my bedroom to block it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't have
to sleep in a tent in my room. Literally, there's like on my Acousticom 2, there's no lights on it in my bedroom, which is painted with this shielding paint.
Right, but what do you put over the windows?
It's like $3,000 for the paint.
Yeah, but it's worth it if you get it. But
sleep. Yeah, right? I don't have to sleep in a canopy, an EMF canopy.
Right.
Because my whole room's a canopy.
So, what do you put over the windows?
Oh, I live in Florida, so I have the ultimate window enclosure, which is a hurricane shutter. There's like no light that comes in. And they're metal, beautiful. So that blocks the EMF.
Yeah.
So I guess it's perfect. Yeah.
All
And,
right.
and the hurricane shutters are external, so they're outside the window, and they're metal, so the sun shines on them, and actually none of the heat from the sun goes into the room. It couldn't be better. It's the perfect sun shield.
Yeah. Yeah, you're kind of in Hurricane Alley, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've did a lot. I've definitely remediated against hurricanes. So the problem is, though, you can survive. I got power, I got water, I got everything. But the problem is you don't have internet because the internet goes down. I have my own power, but there's no cell phone service. The last hurricane,
That's
there was no
good
cell phone
stuff,
service for a
though.
week.
Like all
What's
the
that?
surf trips I go on, we don't have cell phone or internet connections, and it's beautiful because people actually talk.
Yeah, I know, but
I know.
it's a big part of my life,
I got it.
my exposure is not through. It's all wired, so it's really clean.
Right.
And I digest the information. I thrive on it. It's like my fuel, So it's hard to be without it.
I can tell that you digest a lot of information. My brain's like burning right now from just talking to you.
Well, you know what that means, don't you?
What?
You're NAD deficient.
I am. I need my nice. I'm gonna go get some right now.
I'm telling you, that is like when you get the niacin. Here's the trick: you get the niacin powder because there's no magnesium stearate, any bullshit in there, and you can just measure it out. Like a $20 bag of niacin powder for like bulk supplements will last you like a year. I mean, it's almost free.
Yeah.
That you get, and you can titrate the dose real precisely, so you don't have to buy all different size tablets and everything.
And then where does the nicotine microdosing come in? How does that fit into the equation?
I actually have some nicotine. I based it on a nicotine spray.
Yeah. Okay.
I had to get it from Europe. It's called Nicorette Quick Mist.
Okay, so is that to get somebody off cigarettes? Probably is what it's for.
Yes, it's designed for people getting off cigarettes, but it's also there's some benefits for biohacking. It's like if I tried it for writing. I don't use it. Definitely don't use it before you sleep because it's a stimulant.
Right.
But it would help you think a little clearer. But this NAD, I think, blows this out of the water. I mean, the NAD I've been having incredible results with. I mean, I've just never been as productive with this NAD. It's like crazy.
Yeah, how do you write 3 books?
It truly is an unfair advantage. It is an unfair advantage.
Well, I'm on it. I'll call Patrick and get a little of his input.
I got him on the dose this week. So what was your question? How do I what?
How do you write 3 books? I mean, that's got to. That's one thing I have to do soon is write the book. In fact, I've got a call right after this with somebody that's going to help me with that.
Well, I've got a writer that helps. So my role in the book is to put together the concepts,
right? And
then I have a writer who massages the text to translate it so that the average person can appreciate it and digest it. And
right.
understand.
So it's not like rocket science.
No, I'm writing the rocket science.
No, I know. You talk the rocket science a little bit too.
Study, yeah. Well, I go into a lot more detail, really heavy molecular biology and chemistry. Right. In the paper I'm writing, I've never been so excited, and I've never been as convinced that the potential of one single paper to transform the system is because it's who has time to digest the literature. I mean, I've been blessed to be in a situation where I don't have to see patients. This is my full-time function is to read and digest and synthesize.
Right.
Who else is doing that? Hardly anyone. They got busy, seeing patients and stuff. So it's
Patrick's
really,
kind of that way too.
Well, he's not. Believe me, he's not digesting the literature.
No, not. But I'm saying he's not seeing patients, so he can do other projects like his
right.
Yeah.
Right. So my focus is on optimizing health through very specific interventions. That's my focus. And then I put it together. I compile it. I read. I'm literally working like 8 hours a day on these projects. So
right.
It's fun.
But just for your protocol for writing, do you sit down? Do you? I mean, I thought if I ever did it, I would just do videos of myself.
You could do that way. What I do is that the foundation of most of my work is hardcore science. So I'll read hundreds of studies on my Kindle. I highlight the Kindle, then I transfer those highlights so everything gets electronically transferred, and I can copy and paste. I don't have to type anything. I just edit. So I'll create like this. Paper I'm working on is about 20 pages now. It started out like 240 pages, and I just edited it down to 20 pages. That's the hard part is editing and putting pieces together so it makes sense and doing that. So, but at least you don't have to do all of the typing.
Right. Because I don't type.
Yeah.
Do you type?
Yeah. Oh, I type really fast. Yeah. I type about 100 words a minute.
Oh, you do. See, I don't have
Yeah.
that.
I taught myself how to type in 5th grade
In 5th grade.
on 45. What are they? 45 RPMs. Those little records. Remember them? The singles.
Yeah.
I bought a course from Smith Corona in, gosh, it must have been the early 70s. No, it was the 60s. It was the 60s.
Yeah.
I bought this course and I learned how to type. So
Well,
I've
why
been
would
able
you
to type
want to
ever
learn
since
to
then.
type back then? I mean, back
Because
then.
I knew it was important.
Why? I mean, back in the day, I mean, I don't want to sound like a chauvinist, but if I didn't even take typing because I thought it was just something that secretaries did.
No, I just knew. I just wanted to be able to type. So, I mean, I took typing in high school, but I didn't need to because I didn't really increase my speed after I took the typing courses. So, I mean, I didn't want to be like a professional typist. I did type 150 words, but I could type pretty quickly. Aaron types pretty quickly too. But I taught myself
this guy.
with. No.
That's me. So
10 fingers.
All right, I'm going surfing, Joe. Love you,
All right,
man.
enjoy it.
I'll see you I'll probably see you down the road somewhere. We'll bump into each other, like I bumped into you at Truth About Cancer or somewhere.
Yeah, I don't even know. Are they having an event this year? I'm not
I
going.
haven't heard anything. But I'll see you somewhere down the road.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. If not, we'll see you at in CalJam.
Yeah, perfect.
In February.
All right. Just want to send my love and say hi to Erin for me. Give her a big hug.
Enjoy the
for me.
waves.
You see her? I will.
Yeah.
I'm going to see the Pelicans, man. I'm going to surf with the Pelicans and the Dolphins. All
right. Enjoy it.
Peace out, brother.
Bye now.
What's your number one reason for coming?
Just the energy, the love, and getting to see so many different speakers talking about everything that I care about.
To get the newest and latest great information on what I can't hear in normal mainstream media publications, that I can hear new information on alternative medicine that, I think in a lot of cases can be as curative, if not more curative, than traditional medicine.
It's something we had to try, and did not disappoint.
It was a combination of the opportunity for continuing education credits, getting out of the Northwest where it's really cold, somewhere nice and sunny, and also I have heard good things about kind of CalJam as being something that will increase your passion for chiropractic.